Chapter 23. In the midst of a brawl, the vehicle gets collided with something, and the guy gets into an accident. Before he even had time to react, all the glass of the vehicle burst out, and the airbag goes off. Due to the sudden inflation of the airbag, luckily, the gets pushed back, being saved from hitting his head on the steering wheel. Slowly, the airbag starts to deflate, and the guy gets back in his senses, only to be even more scared of whatever just happened. He breathes slowly, and sudden relief crosses his face. He looks down as he puts his right hand on the steering wheel, while his left hand slowly moves towards his face, taking the big glass shards off his skin. As he pulls the very first shard, he closes his eyes tightly and hisses in pain. As soon as the glass is removed, he exhales loudly, as if he was holding his breath for a few minutes. He seems breathless as he slowly inhales and exhales a deep, strangled breath. He opens his eyes and, still breathing, he looks up, removing his gaze from the steering wheel. He stares at the neighborhood around him, while he is still trapped inside the disgruntled vehicle. Outside, he notices that there are no lights coming from any of the houses around, since it was pretty late, and the entire neighborhood must be asleep. All the streetlights are turned off, except for this one streetlight on his far right that is still on and spilling light on the otherwise dark and empty street. The guy looks a bit confused as he turns his head towards the right side, at the passenger door. He slowly turns his head towards the back and stares at the empty space there. Still confused, he looks at the driver's side door. His confusion just grows with every passing minute and with everything he is seeing around him. From outside, the vehicle seems fine, as if there is no damage. The guy is still alive and breathing. Suddenly, the sound of wind starts filling the aura inside the car, and apparently, the sound is coming through the radio. The guy turns even quieter as he stares at the radio. Slowly, the fire starts coming out of the radio, and slowly, a song starts playing. The song is called Sandstorm by Darude. The guy looks at the radio keenly and notices that the fire has slowly started to spread from the radio. The guy seems shocked and insists now trying to open his seatbelt. His jittery hands are not able to open the seatbelt, and the guy is grinding his teeth while struggling with the seatbelt, as smoke appears in the entire vicinity of the vehicle. After struggling for a few more seconds, the guy is finally able to remove the seatbelt from his body and immediately moves his left hand forward to open the door at his side. After turning and pushing, the driver's side door finally opens wide. The guy quickly tries to escape, but when he looks back, he notices that the seatbelt is still on. He tries to open the seatbelt again, struggling with it more harshly than before, but it doesn't budge. The guy gets frustrated, and with the little energy left in his body, he tugs at the seatbelt hard to try and rip it off with both hands as he struggles to break free. The guy doesn't have much energy left and is not able to get out of it, while the door slams shut as well. Due to the loud thud, he quickly moves his head towards the door to see that it is shut again. Confusion and terror are apparent at the guy's face as he struggles while noticing that the fire is getting closer to him by each passing second. The guy shouts, "Help! Somebody! Help!" He looks beside him to notice that the fire has now reached to the passenger seat. His eyes are big with horror as he shouts again, "Anyone!" The fire is spreading rapidly and has now spread through the dashboard. The guy is helplessly looking at the fire as he screams, "Help!" Sweat appears on the guy's face as he notices that the fire has now spread to the ceiling. The guy starts to cry as his tears start rolling down and mixing with sweat in his face. He whimpers, "Please, God." Fire is getting closer and closer to the guy as it starts reaching towards his feet. He whimpers again, "Please save me." The fire quickly escalates as it goes to his feet and then up to his lower legs, and soon his entire upper body is covered in fire. The guy's body starts burning and his mouth goes big. He screams out of pain and horror, "No!" The guy is screaming and twitching around in his seat as his skin slowly starts to melt, and now his facial muscles and flesh are visible. Soon, as the fire has reached to his head and melting his hair and scalp, his skull starts getting visible. The guy is still screaming as the entire vehicle is filling up with fire, and after a couple of minutes, the vehicle blows up. The vehicle's parts scatter on the street, with the fire still alive on some of the parts. The rest of the vehicle starts melting down to the ground. Although the part is everywhere on the street, they do no damages to the road, sidewalk, or the front yard of the various houses of the neighborhood. The only thing that can be found in its right form is the guy's cell phone. The cell phone turns on, and the phone company's logo appears on the screen. The logo is a white triangle turned upside down, with a big oval and squiggly lines in the middle. After a pause, a word in big font and white color appears below the symbol. The word reads, SAXTM. A voice comes through the cell phone as it says, Sax. Our phones are so good, not even unexplained things can destroy them. A hand is lying near the Sax cell phone on the ground. The hand gets connected to a guy wearing a jersey shirt and appears to be unconscious, lying on the ground. The unconscious man slurs, Hey, you! Airdrie is looking down at the man. The unconscious man slurs again, Have you seen my phone around? I've been here all night and haven't had a single goddamn sight of it, even once. Did you see it? Airdrie's right foot moves the phone towards the unconscious man's right hand. The unconscious man grabs it and looks at his hand, holding the phone. The unconscious man starts slurring again as he says, Oh, thanks. You're welcome. Airdrie looks at him lying on the ground and simply responds. With one last look, Airdrie walks away, and the unconscious man turns on his phone. He stares at his phone's screen and slurs a little louder this time as he says, Hey, this isn't my phone. Fuck. Airdrie doesn't pay any heed to the unconscious man as he keeps walking ahead. He walks towards the back of Dam's vehicle, stops, and pulls out Dam's car keys from inside his right pocket. Airdrie then leaves Dam's side as he goes back to open the trunk. When the trunk is open, Boiler is tied up with bar wire on his body, as well as forehead. Blood is dripping from his forehead. Boiler is looking at Airdrie with a sock is in his mouth as he tries to say something that comes out like he's just muttering. Airdrie takes the sock out of Boiler's mouth. As soon as the sock is gone, Boiler begs, Please, I beg you, please don't kill me. I'll do anything. Airdrie looks at Boiler with a blank face as Boiler begs in front of him to not kill him. After a moment, Boiler says, sniffing, I smell food? Airdrie looks up and sees a food cart across from the vehicle. He looks back at Boiler and says, There's a food cart over there. Boiler says with a troubled expression at his face as he asks, Can you please feed me? I haven't eaten since this morning. I'm really hungry. What are you going to do when I feed you? Airdrie asks, with his eyes slightly narrowed. Boiler looks back at him as he says, We'll straighten everything out, I promise. Boiler gives Airdrie a whimpering smile as Airdrie looks at Boiler's black eyes. He thinks for a moment longer and then walks away. Boiler stays there quietly while waiting for Airdrie to return. The sounds of chattering are coming from the food cart. The food vendor looks up from the cart to see Airdrie. He asks after a moment, What do you want? Airdrie looks at him and says, Number 2, please. The food vendor nods his head and says, Coming right up. Boiler is lying in the trunk, still quiet and waiting. The food vendor comes up to Airdrie as he says, Okay, that will be $4. Boiler keeps on waiting as Airdrie is near the food cart, waiting taking the food from the food vendor. The food vendor hands over the paper bag to Airdrie and says, Come again. Boiler hears footsteps coming towards the trunk. Airdrie is holding donair in his right hand. He finally reaches the trunk and puts the donair in Boiler's mouth. Boiler chews it, and once he's done eating, he says, Thank you. Boiler takes a bite from the donair and starts chewing on it, and then he swallows it. Then he takes another bite and starts chewing it again and swallows it. He takes a third bite, he's chewing it for the third time, and then he swallows it. Boiler puts the whole donair in his mouth. He starts chewing it the fourth time, and once he swallows it, the entire donair is finished. Boiler is sniffing again as he looks up at Airdrie and says, I smell sausages. Can you please buy me some more food? But can you make it a sausage and something to drink? Airdrie walks away once again. Like the last time, Boiler stays quiet and waits for Airdrie to return with food. He hears the sounds of chattering from the cart again and knows that Airdrie must have reached the cart. The food vendor looks up again and recognizes Airdrie as he says, "What do you want again?" Airdrie looks at the food vendor and says, "Number 4 and a drink, please." The food vendor asks, "What kind of drink?" Airdrie simply responds, "Fountain drink." The food vendor nods and says, "Coming right up." Boiler is still quiet and waiting inside the trunk of Dam's vehicle. The food vendor comes back up to Airdrie and says, "Okay, that will be $5. Boiler waits patiently, and the food vendor comes back to Airdrie, handing him his order as he says, "Thanks, come again." Boiler hears feet steps coming towards the trunk again. Airdrie is holding a sausage in a bun with his right hand, while the other hand is holding a fountain drink. Boiler hears footsteps coming towards the trunk again. Airdrie is holding a sausage in a bun with his right hand, while the other hand is holding a fountain drink. Boiler looks up at Airdrie gratefully as he says, "Thank you for this, once again." Just like the last donaire, Boiler takes a bite, chews, and swallows. He repeats this process for another 3 times, and he's done with the sausage as well. Boiler looks up at Airdrie and says, "That was pretty damn good sausage." He suddenly cranes his neck out of the trunk and shouts at the food vendor across the street, "Hey, sir, that was a damn good sausage." The food vendor shouts back at the vehicle, "Thanks." Boiler looks at the drink and asks Airdrie, "Can you pass me that?" Airdrie puts the straw in Boiler's mouth, and he quickly starts drinking the fountain drink. He is slurping fast, and soon he finishes his drink as well. Boiler sighs and looks satisfied with all that he has just had. He looks up at Airdrie and says, "Thanks. Where are we?" Airdrie looks back at him and says, "A sports bar." Boiler says, "Oh, Honda's?" Airdrie tilts his head slightly and says, "That's the one." "Can you go inside and buy me one of those drinks with a small umbrella? You just gotta say this person's name, and they'll give it to you," asks Boiler again. "Okay, what's the name?" Airdrie asks. A fog noise is coming out from Boiler's mouth, and Airdrie looks at Boiler straight in the mouth. Airdrie is just about to close the trunk door when Boiler calls out, "Wait!" Airdrie stops and lets go of his hands from the trunk door, and looks at Boiler as he asks, "Do you have my phone? I want to listen to music while I'm in here." Airdrie pulls out his cell phone from his left pocket and puts the earphones in his ears. Boiler tells him the password as he says, "The password is 2645. Airdrie puts in the password and looks up to Boiler before asking, "Which song do you want to listen to?" Boiler thinks for a moment before saying, "I Want You by the Savage Garden." Airdrie is searching on Boiler's cell phone, and after scrolling a bit, he finally finds the song and selects it. Airdrie puts the phone in the front breast pocket of Boiler's jacket. Boiler looks at him gratefully before saying, "Thank you." Airdrie closes the trunk and makes his way back to the bar. After walking a bit, Airdrie finally reaches back inside Honda's bar. He's trying to walk around the place, but he's constantly struggling to get through the crowd. The crowd is getting bigger and bigger with every passing hour. Airdrie spots Dam and the cleaning lady talking to each other. They're laughing while talking, and Airdrie looks concerned. He goes up to Dam and the cleaning lady. In the crowd, Airdrie passes a guy who's looking around, as he was crying and looking distraught. Airdrie doesn't bother to go to the guy and goes straight to the cleaning lady's table again. Dam looks up as Airdrie arrives at their table. Dam asks, "Airdrie, where have you been?" Airdrie responds quickly, "I was by the car. You told me to go and check how Boyle." The cleaning lady interrupts and suddenly asks, "You have the keys?" Airdrie asks skeptically, "Why?" Dam pipes in and says, "She needs a vehicle to borrow." Airdrie looks at Dam incredulously and says, "Wait, you're giving her the car?" Dam shrugs and says, "Huh, yeah." Airdrie asks again, "What? Why?" This time the cleaning lady answers, as she says, "None of your goddamn business." "That's why." Airdrie asks Dam, "What about Boyle?" The cleaning lady interrupts him again as she says, Are you going to give me the fucking keys, homo? Airdrie responds adamantly. No. Me and Dam have something really important to do. The cleaning lady gets up from her stool and says, Give me the keys. Airdrie shakes his head and stands his ground as he says, No. The cleaning lady goes up to Airdrie's face ferociously and says in a dangerously low tone, Give me the fucking keys. Airdrie looks at her square in the eyes as he says, The answer is still no. The cleaning lady gets even closer to Airdrie's face and threatens him, saying, Want to get fucked up, faggot? You can't threaten me, Airdrie says with a blank face. Airdrie and the cleaning lady are looking at each other when suddenly a bottle hits Airdrie at the back of his head. Airdrie screams in pain and falls straight on the floor. The cleaning lady looks surprised. The other man is screaming and crying as he shouts, That's for my fucking woman! You throwing bottle assholes! Motherfucking! The cleaning lady looks down at Airdrie, who is lying on his front and not moving even an inch. The cleaning lady squats down and starts searching around Airdrie's body. After searching for some more time, she pulls out the keychain from Airdrie's right pants pocket. The cleaning lady gets up and approaches Dam, who is standing there unmoved after everything that went down there. The cleaning lady is now standing right in front of Dam as she says, Well, I better go and do my thing. See you later. The cleaning lady perks her lips, with her right index and middle fingers placed on her perked lips. She then makes a kissing sound and removes her fingers from her lips. She moves her fingers forward and puts them on Dam's mouth for a second. Finally, she leaves while Dam starts to blush and smile. On TV, the hockey game is still going on as the teams have started to play overtime. A random sports guy says at the back, This is it. Who is it going to be? Us or them? Another sports guy at the back responds, It's us, retard. Dam is still sitting on his stool and seems frozen. Airdrie gets up from the floor and looks around. He seems dizzy as he winces in pain and then asks Dam, Ow! What happened? Airdrie sits on the cleaning lady's stool and is rubbing the back of his head. He asks again, How did I fall? Airdrie pulls out the glass from the back of his head and looks at it. He looks up at Dam again and asks, Did someone throw a bottle at me? Airdrie then puts his hand inside the pockets and feels that it's empty. He sighs and crosses his arms on the table before he starts saying, I guess. All the people inside the bar started to moan, interrupting Airdrie. Once the noise dies down, Airdrie starts again. Got the car, huh? Doing some monkey business? What a night! Airdrie looks at Dam and notices that he's not moving. He quickly asks with a slight worry on his face, Dam, are you all right? Airdrie stands up from his stool and gets a little closer to Dam's face. He asks, Hello? Snapping his right index finger and thumb right in front of Dam's face, Airdrie asks again, Hello? Airdrie snaps his fingers again. You, who? Airdrie waves his right hand in front of Dam's face. All this time, Dam is still smiling. After some time, Dam finally speaks up. Isn't she great? Airdrie says in confusion, Great! Airdrie pauses for a moment as he sits back at his stool and puts his left fist on his left cheek and asks, How can things get any more interesting? At the ice rink, one of the hockey players from the other team is skating towards the hockey net, while the puck is being moved sideways on the putter of the hockey stick. Behind him, there are all the other players who are skating after him. By the hockey net, the goalie is waiting while standing all by himself. The U.S. goalie chants nervously to himself, Okay, 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 I can do this. The player is skating closer to the net as the U.S. goalie keeps on chanting nervously, I can do this. The player is still skating closer to the net. One of the U.S. players shouts, Get him, fucking get him! Yet the player is still skating closer to the net, while the U.S. goalie says nervously, I can do this. The player is almost near the net, and the U.S. goalie is chanting, I can do this, over and over again. The player is just about to be there towards the net, getting even closer, as the U.S. goalie starts to sweat and shake from inside of his mask. For one last time, in a hesitated tone, the U.S. goalie says, I can do this. The player stops and shoots the puck. The puck is flying towards the U.S. goalie's chest as he says, "Oh, shit!" The U.S. goalie dodges the puck from his left, and the puck goes straight through the net and scores. The U.S. goalie is lying on the left side of his body as he looks at the puck inside the net defeated and exclaims, "Oh, fuck!" On TV, it shows the other player scoring and winning the Stanley Cup. The whole bar goes quiet and still. Airdrie also becomes still. His eyes look around the place. On TV, the other team is cheering at the ice rink and holding the Stanley Cup. Everyone in the bar is staring at the TV, while the other team's fan is being interviewed. The fan's static voice fills the bar as he says excitedly, "I can't believe it! We won! It's a miracle! Yahoo!" No one in the bar is moving as everyone stays still. Airdrie's face slowly turned to look at Dam's face, and he notices that Dam is still smiling. Airdrie whispers while enunciating every single word, "I think we should go." Everyone in the bar goes mayhem. People are shouting and swearing at each other, tipping tables over, fighting one another, and throwing the sports memorabilia around. Going crazy. Dam snaps out of his glare, and soon after that, Dam and Airdrie are putting their arms up to protect themselves. At the bar counter, Honda tries to calm everyone down while his left eye is covered with a bloody rag. Honda shouts above the crowd as he says, "Everyone calms down. Life is not about winning. Enjoy losing." A chair is being thrown at Honda, but luckily he sees it in time and dodges the chair. He points out to the man who has thrown the chair and says, "You motherfucker!" Honda jumps across from the counter. Dam and Airdrie are still at their table, and Airdrie shouts, "We have to get out of here." Dam looks around the place for a moment before he shouts, too, "Yeah!" Dam and Airdrie stand up from their seats and look around the place while slowly walking. Airdrie is walking near two people who are busy in throwing punches at each other, right in the faces, as Airdrie tries to avoid stepping in between them. On Dam's left, a man is crying, while his face is slashed, and Dam tries to avoid the slashed-faced man. In front of Dam and Airdrie are two people flying beside them on their left. Another man in front of them falls on his knees and then falls on his face. The man who has just fallen has a pole stick at the back of his body. Dam and Airdrie carefully walk over the man who has fallen, and Airdrie accidentally steps on a body, making it whimper in pain. Airdrie quickly apologizes, saying, "Oops, sorry!" Airdrie removes his right foot from the body and also notices a lot of broken stuff on the ground. He looks back up as he hears Dam shouting, saying, "Look! There's an exit." He stops midway as he notices that fans are fighting near the exit. "Okay, we're home free." A bottle hit Airdrie right on the forehead, and due to the impact, he instantly goes down on the floor. Dam looks at Airdrie lying on the floor, and suddenly Dam sees a fan wearing a hockey mask while holding a poor man's grenade in his right hand. In a whiff, Dam hears a thud sound as he hits the back of Dam's head. And soon, everything goes black.